All right. So this is going to be a pretty deep, but I'm trying to keep it on basic level, presentation on ionized water and regenerative organic agriculture. This is essentially how I see living water will change the world of agriculture. So originally my inspiration for regenerative organic agriculture, hold on, is there a way to put my little face on this thing? Can you guys see my face?
I can see your face. Go to thumbnail videos at the top. There's like a couple different box options.
I don't see it. Oh well, it's okay. We'll survive. I'll see you guys at the end.
I see your face, Lauren.
Okay. Okay, perfect. So a little bit about my inspiration for regenerative organic agriculture. It actually came from a movie, Kiss the Ground, narrated by Woody Harrelson. I highly recommend checking it out. It basically goes over how farmers are going from broke and struggling and not having good crops and being in debt and having to take loans to actually thriving crops and bank accounts with ROA practices. Amazing movie. Immediately after I watched that movie, I started looking into degrees in regenerative organic agriculture. And I want to say my daughter was about 6 months old. So I was exclusively looking for a degree that I could do online so I could be home with her. Like nothing in my being made me want to ever have any time away from her, even now. And that's when I found Maharishi International University. It's a conscious-based college. It's a nonprofit. It's out in Fairfield, Iowa. It's extremely cool. I highly recommend checking it out if you're ever out that area or you're thinking about looking for some higher education. It's amazing. Okay, so let's step into what regenerative organic agriculture is. So there's a lot of different principles when it comes to regenerative organic agriculture, which I'm just going to refer to it as ROA because that is a whole mouthful. So it really just depends on your location, the weather where you're at, and the systems you want to implement. And so I've narrowed it down to a solid 5. And that's going to look like minimize soil disturbance. And that's going to be basically a no-till, like no tilling at all, or a low till. And because tilling erodes the soil, it's exposing it to oxygen and the elements. So it's oxidizing it. You're killing the soil life, you're killing the mycorrhizae, and it's releasing fixed carbon that was in the ground back into the atmosphere. Also, when you till, you're very prone to topsoil loss, and all of life takes place in the first 6 inches of topsoil, if you can believe that. So no-till methods are going to look like sheet mulching. You're going to lay down cardboard and then maybe some green grasses, some green brush, and then some brown slightly broke down, maybe some soil, maybe some newer. You're going to let that break down. And it is a slow process, but it is very much worth it if that's something that you can do before planting the year before. Start sheet mulching with anything you have from your land, branches, cardboard, whatever. Just start layering it on and letting it decompose. So a low till method is gonna be a variety of different tools that kind of lift the soil, but they don't turn it and they don't disturb it as much. My favorite one is the broad fork. So the broad fork looks like this giant pitchfork. It's like extra wide, it has 3 big things, and you stick it in the soil and then you pull back and it kind of lifts the soil up, and then you're going to straighten it out and pull it right out. And so that way it's just kind of lifting the soil, aerating it. It's not turning it. It's not mixing it up, breaking up too many root structures. Really the importance when it comes to no-tilling is keeping that topsoil together and not having it run off because the root systems have been broken up. So the United Nations came out and said that we have 60 years of topsoil left to grow in, which is absolutely crazy and mind-blowing. So yeah, minimize soil disturbance, don't till if possible. Next one is going to be crop diversity. So believe it or not, organic agriculture is still monocropping. They're still planting the same crops, the same thing in the soil, so it's stripping the soil. And why that happens is because plants pull and give a specific nutrients from and to the soil. So to increase that biodiversity, Dylan, oh, 1 second. I'm teaching a class. Sorry about that. So plants will pull specific nutrients from the soil and they'll give specific nutrients from the soil. So if you're planting the same thing over and over again, you don't want it to strip the soil of it. The most famous intercropping system that is used in indigenous cultures is the Three Sisters. So Three Sisters is the squash, beans, and corn, and they structurally and biologically support each other. The squash will act as a ground cover, and then the corn will tap in deep, and the beans will grow up around the corn, and that will be its structurally support. So you got your ground cover, you got your support, and then those three plants, they give and take specific nutrients from the soil that support the other plant. So crop diversity is super important. And it was a huge realization for me that organic agriculture is still monocropping and it's somewhat better, but it's still leading to soil erosion. And the other two are pretty entwined, keeping the soil covered and maintaining living roots year round. Keeping the soil covered, again, is going to look like sheet mulching. If you don't have plants that you could plant for year-round cover crops, you just cover your soil with cardboard, and that's going to protect it from eroding, from carbon loss. It is a very slow process, sheet mulching, but it's a very necessary process if you can do that. Okay, so maintaining living roots year-round, that's going to look like cover crops. Cover crops are a godsend. Because if you can plant cover crops year round, you are keeping roots in the ground, which is going to be consistently sequestering carbon above and below ground. So as we know, like photosynthesis, plants take in CO2 from the atmosphere, and that is actually stored in their body. And then it's also brought down into the roots and stored within the soil. So that is super helpful for sequestering carbon. Also, the living roots in the soil year round is going to reduce water runoff. It's going to improve soil structure, which is a huge proponent of this talk, is how soil is formed in the structure and the solidify of it, like solidify. I don't know if that's a word. So you can plant cover crops year round. You can plant them in between your cash crops. You can plant them with your cash crops. I highly recommend planting them year round with your cash crops because they're basically a weed management. Because you have a cover crop growing, you're not going to get as much weeds. Oh, and then you have cover crops that are like legumes. They fix nitrogen from the atmosphere back into the soil, and a lot of our fertilizers and whatnot are nitrogen based, and that's another greenhouse gas that we deal with a lot. So last but not least, my absolutely favorite is the integrated livestock. A lot of people think that animals are the problem, and I'm here to say that they are not the problem and they are part of the solution. Doesn't mean you have to eat them, but they are definitely a part of the system, and there is a way that we can farm them and treat them in the way that they're actually beneficial to us, take less work, and improve the environment. So integrating livestock really is all about proper rotational grazing. To properly rotational graze livestock, cows, for example, you have to consider the weather where you're at, what kind of pasture you have, like what's growing, the growth patterns, and the time that specific portion of land, which we call a paddock, the time that specific paddock is exposed to livestock before they come back to it. So essentially, yes, think about, okay, how long does this land have to regrow? Does the manure have to decompose before my livestock can come back to it? And that's generally anywhere between 4 months to a year. So thinking, okay, do I have enough land to properly rotate this amount of animals and support their feed on this amount of land? And that way you're going to avoid what you see going down on the I-5 or wherever you're at on the dairy farms, the meat farms, them sitting in the mud piles. And the way that it's another fun fact, the way that the cows chew, they actually stimulate the growth of the grass. So when you see properly rotated pastures, they are thriving in huge, tall grasses. Another thing you can do with integrated livestock is you can do multi-species grazing, which is amazing because like chickens, for example, the chickens will come and they'll get all the bugs, they'll help break down the manure, they'll scratch everything in. The ducks are amazing. Goats are a little tricky because they'll eat everything. But yeah, that's, I would say the 5 core principles is to minimize soil disturbance, no tilling if possible. Crop diversity, you need to be rotating your crops every season that you're growing. And this is a hard one for me to remember. And so I have notes like this comes after this is before this. Keep your soil covered. All that cardboard you have from buying stuff when you go on Amazon or whatever, cover the ground with it. Pull the tape off, cover ground. Maintain living roots. Plant some cover crops. You can eat a lot of cover crops. You can do a lot of amazing flowers, bees, all the good stuff. Livestock is amazing. They're definitely a part of the solution if farmed right. Okay, so I feel weird talking about this all the time because I'm not like a doomsday person, like, oh, the world is gonna end, we're screwed, there's no return. And I feel like that's a lot of people's thought when they hear like the word climate change. But I firsthand lived in California for 10 years and I know what it's like to experience fires. I know what it's like to experience floods, landslides, and I actually lived in the heart of agriculture land in the Sacramento Valley. And our soil structure and the way that it's formed and our root system plays a pivotal role on our microclimate and our weather. So in 2018, 55 gigatons of CO2 were emitted into the atmosphere. And so, like, what is a gigaton? I had to look this up. I was like, that's a lot. It sounds like a lot. A gigaton is 1 billion metric tons of carbon emitted into the atmosphere. And 2/3 of those emissions come from the carbon dioxide alone from agriculture. So, and this is research done by the Rodal Institute, which is one of the Robert Rodal coined the term regenerative organic agriculture. And surprisingly, the research and funding for this is by big money, like the Rockefellers and other big names, which fund this college to do this research on regenerative organic agriculture. So that piqued my interest a lot. So like how the heck can we sequester carbon to get back down to our goal, which our goal is we must get down to 41 to 47 gigatons to mitigate the global desertification that is happening. And the Rodal white paper has, they wrote the white paper, which is an amazing resource. And it goes in on the detail of if all of the cropland switched to regenerative practices, not even the pasture land, the cropland switched to regenerative practices, we could sequester more carbon than we emit in 1 year. And that's not good. Like we want carbon in our atmosphere, just like a healthily amount. So that's super, super powerful. And this is where the picture on the right comes into play. Here we have a soil aggregate. So an aggregate is a measurement of soil's resistance to structural breakdown. So this is an organic aggregate and this is a conventional aggregate just dipped in water. Basically, you're just going to take like a plug, you're going to smash it down into the soil, pull it out, throw it in some water. How well it stays together is going to show how how stable it is with its aggregates. And so aggregates form because of roots and the elemental exchange with microlife and macro life like worms and roaches and whatever going in there, locking in carbon, and how ionized water can affect the building of soil aggregates is huge. So that's pretty much my main focus is building soil structure with clean living water that is going to support the microlife in there and root growth. Because if you have conventional soil and it rains, this is what your rivers are going to look like. And you're going to have no soil left to grow in. If you have some more organic, regenerative soil, your soil is not going anywhere. It can retain water, it can retain its stability, and that is super valuable, whether you're a homesteader, just doing it to grow yourself food, or if you're a commercial farmer. Okay, so here's a lot of information, but it's pretty digestible, I think. So what is ionized water? Ionized water is naturally pHed water through electrolysis. And so, okay, so what is pH? pH is the potential of hydrogen in a solution. So if you have an acid, this is what the chemical take is going to look like. It's a H plus with a negative OH. Neutral, H plus, negative OH, but more balanced. Alkaline, you're going to have more of a negative OH with the H plus. So pH is important because the chemical and biological relationships are controlled by the acidity and alkalinity in, supposed to say, water. If you look up here, we have our macronutrients that are necessary for plant growth: the nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, sulfur, calcium, magnesium. These are all essential. And then you have your micros, which are good in low doses for the plants. And anywhere between a 6.0 and I want to say I'd go up to an 8 is going to be your ideal pH. And so the way most people pH their water, and come to find out, you know, a lot of people don't think about their pH in the water or pH it. The most time I've seen people pHing their water is like in indoor grows. But when you pH your water with pH buffers, it's a synthetic and chemical component that's going to neutralize the acidity or alkalinity of it. And so the benefit of watering with a naturally pH water that happens through electrolysis is that you're adding more hydrogen or less hydrogen into the water. And that hydrogen is what the roots are going to exchange for their minerals and nutrients within the soil. So here we have a little graph, and we're going to see, we all know from photosynthesis that the plants take in the CO2. Well, they also take in hydrogen, and that comes from their water, and they exchange this hydrogen for their nutrients, like the potassium, the calcium, the magnesium. And this is happening with the soil structure, with nutrients locked into soil. So the clay is a negative charged particle. And so all these positive charged minerals are going to attach to it, and it's just going to have this beautiful exchange here. Another way that this happens is with the mycorrhizae, which is the fungus in the soil. So the mycorrhizae, it is in communication with the plant roots, and the plant exchanges hydrogen with it, and then the mycorrhizae exchanges that hydrogen with the soil microlife, and the soil microlife gives back nutrients to the plant through that process. So if you can get a naturally pHed water, obviously that's going to be more beneficial than adding chemicals to it that are just neutralizing an acidity or alkalinity. Naturally pHed water is going to make these nutrients more bioavailable. It's going to support the growth and vitality and resilience, since hydrogen is a natural, powerful antioxidant, and it's essential in this nutrient exchange here. And this hydrogen exchange is going to build healthy roots. So it's going to build healthy soil aggregates. And what does healthy soil aggregates mean? It means stability. It means water retention. It means carbon being sequestered. It is solid. That is the dream goal right there, soil aggregates. If you go back to your backyard and take up a pile of soil and stick it in some water and see how how quick it dissipates, you can see your soil aggregates at home. It's a really awesome, easy test to do. That's where the juice is at when it comes to the ionized water and the root structure, and really having a powerful effect on our environment. Here's a little quick overview. This picture is amazing. I love it. There's plenty of them like they're out on the interwebs. Here we have some reverse osmosis water, some tap, some Kangen, some bottled water. So let's just start with this RO. This RO is mad. It has no freaking minerals in it and nothing. And that's probably why the tap water is doing a little bit better, because it has some minerals in it, even though it's probably heavily treated and has some contaminants in it. Actually, probably has agriculture runoff, so it's probably giving it a little bit of a boost. But if you come over here to this, I mean, let's just skip to bottled water. Bottled water is like dead. That is toxic, clearly. So the Kangen water, this root, again, this is what we're looking for. We're looking for that root structure. We're looking for that as above, so below. And so we really want to see that root structure span out, that vitality, that growth. And so this root mass, again, is going to help build soil aggregates. And so there's a few other implementations of ionized water in agriculture. It acts as a non-toxic sanitizer for processing and handling. It is a natural pesticide, fungicide, insecticide, and herbicide. I don't want to say all those 100 times, so I'm just going to say besides, it's just killing life. It increases nutrient uptake and oxygen uptake, resulting in increased yields. Like, this is just water, right? There's no added nutrients to it. This is just water. This is like, that's crazy. You don't have to buy any more pH balances. You don't have to buy any pesticides. We'll go deeper into that later. And this is going to decrease your nutrient cost that you have to buy on your farm. A lot of people are making compost tea, which is excellent. I'll go into that a little bit later. Hydrogen is energy, and it gives life and vitality. This is like clearly obvious that water that is saturated in molecular hydrogen is making, it is energy, it is nutrients, it is feeding that life. So let's go into the pHs of water. This baddie right here, this is the level Luke Super 501. That's my dream girl right there. She produces 2 gallons of water a minute, and she has 12 platinum coated 99.97% pure titanium electrode plates. And she actually uses a powdered salt to make the 2.5 hypochlorous acid. It's a little bit different than our household model. So the 2.5 hypochlorous acid, also known as strong acidic water, is a super strong sanitizer, and it's non-toxic. It's actually the active ingredient in bleach, and it kills all pathogens and is really good at killing bugs too. I actually use this as mouthwash, and I love it. It can kill mites, fungus gnats, and molds. It can be used for seed germination, just to kind of sanitize the seeds beforehand and increase potential seed germination to get rid of any pathogen or molds. There's people that are germinating seeds from the 90s by soaking in the 2.5 and 11.5 and are being blown away by this germination rate. And then you can clean your veggies and or your cannabis with this. I worked on quite a bit of cannabis farms. Powdery mildew is a huge issue. You can use it as a spray, a fogger. You can dip them. You can soak them in it. And it's completely non-toxic, and it doesn't leave a residue. And then we have, I want to touch on that a little bit more. The 2.5 hypochlorous acid, because I'm scaling to commercial size farms. And so essentially this sanitizer goes farther than applications on the plant. This can be used within my processing room. This can be used to clean my soil blocks. It can be used to clean my produce that I harvest. It can be used to sanitize all my tools, my surfaces, my whole room. Literally just fog it. And this is something that can easily be certified, if it's not already certified in your state, as a non-toxic sanitizer. So that's an amazing, that cuts out costs for processing and handling and trying to buy soaps and sanitizers that don't leave a residue and are certified okay to use if you're going for your organic certification. So that's really awesome. And then we have the 6.0 and the 7.0 neutral water. Again, this is great for nutrient uptake because it is perfectly and naturally pH'd. It's going to increase the nutrient and elemental exchange. We went over that because that's what the plant roots, they exchange that and CO2 for nutrients. So giving them the proper amount of hydrogen is going to increase that vitality. It's going to increase that yield. So something that I learned is that when plants grow in the soil, they are acidifying the soil. It's constantly being acidified because that exchange of hydrogen. And so when you have a naturally pHed water, you're able to cut out the guessing game if you're locking out nutrients. Because when you have too acidic, you're locking out a lot of those macronutrients that are necessary and only getting the micro like copper and zinc and whatnot. And that will not be good for your plant's health at all. This again builds soil aggregates, that proper exchange between the roots and the soil particles, and the mycorrhizae is going to build a soil structure. That is the main focus of ROA, soil structure and topsoil, building that up. Then we have the the 6.07 point is great for compost teas because it's going to make it more bioavailable. So then we have the 8.0 and the 9.5. And I have not really heard of this being used in agriculture, but I was watching a couple videos of some people experimenting with it and, watering a couple of their plants with it and seeing what happens. And they were seeing some amazing results. So I don't recommend going and watering your plants with the 8.0 or 9.5 right off the bat, but it would be fun, a little bit of experiment because you're giving it more hydrogen, you're giving it more antioxidant, you're building that essential immune system. I like to think of the plant's roots as like our gut. It's how we absorb nutrients. It affects our nervous system. It fires our immune system. So that's really what it's all about. And then we have the 11.5 strong alkaline water. This is excellent for seed germination. People are seeing upwards of 20 to 40% in seed germination rates, especially if you're doing like microgreens or peas or things that need to be re-soaked. Soaking them is popping them so much quicker than you would soaking them in like filtered water or distilled water or just plain old tap water, well water. Additionally, if you're going to use oil-based sprays, this completely emulsifies the oil. Oil and water don't mix. So that's absolutely wild to me. It's going to basically turn it into like an opaque cloud where when you spray that or when you fog a room with that, it's going to have a better, what is the word? It's going to cover everything a lot better saturation. It's going to, better surface area that it's going to touch than if you're trying to spray an oil-based whatever with normal water. Also, it's really good for soft body bugs. I had some people recommend I use the 2.5 for aphids that I had gotten from a farmer's market, and they were so bad. I'll show you. I'll have a picture of them for you guys. It's crazy. So here are these little boogers, aphids here. There's some white shells here of when I was dipping them. And this is the same plant now. It's clean, and I have not been continuously spraying it. I think it just did its job, and they're clean now. I believe this was a valerian, and I had aphids infestation, like really bad. If you see this like white bubble right here, I don't know if that's the plant sweating or the aphids. It looks like spit. It is quite weird. That's how bad my aphids were. This is that same plant now. No aphids whatsoever. And both of these I have not continued to do spraying, even though I should. This happened about after a few weeks of spraying. So that's the power of that 11.5 there. But what had happened is I had asked some people what stuff to spray, and they said the 2.5. So I was taking the whole plant and I was dipping it in the 2.5, and I would pull off the aphids and like spray them with 2.5, and they would still like get up and walk away. And I was like, okay, what the heck? Like, this is supposed to be working. And so I reached out and I was like, okay, what's going on? And they're like, use 11.5 for the soft body bugs. And I used 11.5, and that's what happened. Completely died. They were not getting up and walking out of that. So that was really, really, really awesome. So I'm just gonna, that's like the end of my presentation, but I do have a little bit more to talk to you guys about. Let's just stop the sharing. So if you do have bugs or pests or thrips or aphids or anything that you're trying to get rid of, fungus gnats, huge thing. I bought a bunch of soil and it all came with fungus gnats, and I planted all my house plants in it, and I'm like, I have all these gnats flying around. So I'm like spraying it with a 2.5 and they're completely gone. Took about a few days, but I've been soaking them down with a 2.5 and it's done. Really weird to me. Brand new soil, fungus gnats, yay. So if you are dealing with bugs, there is a protocol that I do like to follow when it comes to spraying. So to prevent bugs, if you're in a high area that has lots of bugs, if you're near agriculture land, I would spray every 3 days, and I would rotate between the 2.5 and 11.5. Doing one day, one the other day. And then if you actually have bugs and you really want to eliminate them, or if you have fungus, powdery mildew, any type of mold issues, then I recommend spraying the 11.5 and the 2.5 every day, but rotating them, doing one in the morning before the sun rises and one at night before the sun goes, or after the sun goes down. So the sun's not coming and burning the plants because they have moisture on them. And like I said, depending on what bug it is, the 2.5 in my experience did not do any justice with my aphids, and I don't think it really affected my soft body bugs. And so the 11.5, that strong alkaline water, crushed them out. Thank God. I actually went back to the farmer's market and was like, all your bugs have plants on them. He's like, I'm glad they're alive. And I'm like, me too. But I want a good harvest. Okay, so one of the powers that I saw in this water is these sprays. Like, when it comes to agriculture and the pesticides and the fertilizers that are used in our agriculture is a huge issue with runoff. I don't think people grasp their mind around how easy it is for these elements, these fertilizers, these sprays to leach into soil and leach into our groundwater. They can travel hundreds of miles into our groundwater, which is polluting our water. And it's part of the reason why, you need in-home filtration. That's why I have in-home filtration. I can go on to EWG and I see that I have nitrates and nitrites and agriculture runoff in my water. And I'm not even near farmland. And to think that I was in Sacramento Valley on well water, just showering away and absorbing all of that is just like, no. So filtration is definitely the first step when you're even watering with your garden, is to take all that stuff out, and or testing your well. So essentially, like, I saw this system. I saw what it could do for agriculture. I saw that it was basically a non-toxic, completely non-toxic, no residue leaving sanitizer, all the isides, and how much it can improve like soil aggregates, which is my whole passion, is bringing carbon down out of the atmosphere back into the soil, because I know what it's like to have desertification. I know what it's like to experience fires. You guys know what it's like. And there's a lot of conspiracy theories about like why they happen and whatnot. But agriculture is a huge, huge pivotal role in all of this. The building that microclimate. The microclimates, the climate within the first like 50 feet from the ground up, are so pivotal in affecting our climate. And that's why having ground cover all the time, having roots in the ground, having green, planting trees, planting shrubs, integrating animals healthily is very, very necessary. So I think it's pretty clear like how this water is so beneficial for our farms and our environment. And I was thinking about touching on animals, but I won't. But you can just, I guess, imagine the implications that this would have if you're running like a dairy farm and you're able to help your animals with this water and have the sanitizer and have these things. Like, it's on a large scale, I'm seeing so much how commercial agriculture can cut so many investments, costs, and issues with just one freaking beautiful machine. So I guess I just want to share like a little bit about like, okay, so this is cool. It's going to optimize my farm and my garden and it's going to be awesome. But like, how the heck is this going to, can I make money from this? Like, how is this going to make me money? Um, yes, exactly. We all need a little bit of money. So I already said it's going to cut costs. It's going to cut costs for all the sprays you're going to do, the fungicides, the nutrients, the pH buffers, whatever. Now, lots of people are already making their compost tea. They're making compost. They're using predator insects. Like that's the whole point of regenerative agriculture, right? Is to have that beneficial ecosystem so you don't have as much of these problems. And this water is just a whole nother pair to go with it. And then, yeah, you're cutting costs of nutrient intake because we saw the just hydrogen water, how much energy and vitality it's giving to that like simple sweet potato growing like massive. And, you know, more than ever, growers are having issues with pests. Like you hear about the cicadas and all these like crazy things coming, or the locusts or whatever that are coming out and coming for us and ruin agriculture. Oh my God. So it's like, this is a huge thing to have in your back pocket that is a one-time investment, and you get to completely have non-toxic and be like, I have the best of the best, and it's never failed me. And most of all, this is like a tax write-off, and you can essentially just talk about what you're doing. Like I hate to say it like this, but homesteading, growing your own food, the crunchy mom life, being aware of what's in your water, what's in your food, it is trending, okay? It is like the most trending thing out there, I swear to God. And I'm just like, I've gotten into this at just the right time to like bind arms with all these people and really bring this to an awareness. So simply just talking about your life, sharing with people, and farmers are so tight knit, most of them, local community farmers, they talk to each other. Okay, they are using each other for resources. They are leaning on each other when things get tough. And so really building that community and the infiltration and the power that this has is, it was a no-brainer for me. And that's like, I went all in. I was like, this is my true heart passion, regenerative farming. And this is going to just like unite farmers and make them grow from struggling to freaking thriving in their field and in their bank account. Let's go. Yeah. And like I said, if you're gonna think about implementing this even on your farm, like this is something that we have resources for. You know, you can try it out first. We're the global. There's people all around the world. They're ready to share some of this water with you to see how it really affects your plants, your farm, your animals, whatever. Yeah. I guess one last thing I want to say is that originally my passion, you know, was like I said, taking struggling farmers in the Midwest, in the Mideast that were dealing with climate issues and soil issues and having to take out loans and be heavily in debt just so they could buy all the inputs from their farmer to thriving. And if you have the time to watch TV, like I don't, go watch Kiss the Ground because it is amazing. And there's a couple more that Woody Harrelson has done that he's narrated, and you won't regret it. Yeah, does anybody have any questions, insights, inspirations, whatever? Drop it on me. I can talk more if nobody doesn't need to.
Lauren, can I just highlight you for a minute?
Yes.
Because I think for a lot of people in our community, this call might have been like, agriculture, like that's not my thing. I'm here for the money, or I'm here for the health, or you know, I just like drinking the water, whatever. Like, I don't know about regenerative ag. That sounds like a big word. Like, how can that? Yeah, our food supply is important, but I hope you guys got a serious download of the actual depth of what this machine is doing for your food supply, for your nutrition, for your health, for the health of your baby's food supply. Like, this is so massive. I think you just did an amazing job at really like taking us from the big picture and funneling us into like where we're at with this water, and then like, you know, blowing that out of the literal water as well. So thank you so much for taking the time and putting this together. I don't have a question, but I'm just in total gratitude. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it all ties back to water. I mean, like, our ag leaching into water, or how we treat the water, like how our municipal treats the water and how our ag industry treats the water. We're in the business of water. Okay, and like this ties in 100 directly to how we get our water. We're getting groundwater that probably once was used for ag or is going to be funneled to ag. So, or was a runoff of it. So it's very much intertwined so much. And that's everybody, just like everybody's got to drink, everybody's got to eat. So I hope you get,
Lauren, I have a question.
yeah.
So when you're dealing with farmers, like, do you use like a restaurant machine? Like, because they must use a lot of water.
Yeah, that's our Super 501 is the ideal model. I have seen some people running off the K8 if you can take a little bit of water flow, and it does make the 2.5 hypochlorous acid a little bit differently. But the Super 501 is where it's at. That's the mother load. She's got 12 beautiful plates, and she, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Hey, Torian, I had a question, kind of going off of Beth's question a little bit. So for a farmer who had a big property, would the SD 501 or the Super 501 be big enough to like support a big farm, or would you need multiple ones? Or yeah, I guess the same question, trying to produce that amount of water for a bigger farm area.
Yeah, so I was talking to a woman that has a pretty large cattle ranch, and she's trying to figure out like how she could, fill up that amount of water for her cattle, which are all over. And it really depends on just how you're getting your water to your cattle. The agriculture model does 2 gallons a minute. So you essentially just have to like do the math and the critical thinking of, okay, like this is how much water I need to produce, and this is where it needs to get to, and how many times am I going to have to do this a day? Like, do you refill once or twice? Obviously, multiple machines are going to be convenient, but it's definitely doable with one. It's agriculture is such like a methodical thing, and crops and livestock, it's a lot of planning. And so just doing that, like I said, that thought process, okay, this is how much water I need, and this is where it's going to be. Do I have to pump it there? Am I hauling it there? A lot of people will haul it on their quads and go fill up their things out there for their livestock or whatever. As far as feeding like cropland, like that was like livestock. As far as feeding cropland, it could be as simple as like hooking it up to a tank and pumping it out, Obviously, gravity feeding is always going to be best if you have the option to do that in your cropland. Essentially, just filling a tank and then doing your feed with your drip line or your plumbing, whatever you have. So it's just you got to think about how much water you need and just do the math, pretty much.
Thanks.
Of course. And we never cheers. Cheers to you guys. We never did wins. What is wrong with me? we got 10 minutes. I want to hear some wins. Let's reverse engineer this. Let's go backwards.
I want to share a win right now is watching you host your first of many master classes and team calls, girlfriend. Like that's a win.
I'm not sweating.
You don't have to say everyone here has a gift, and I just want to share that we all have a gift to share, and this is Torin's superpower. Clearly, you guys heard her speak about this. Like, don't be afraid to come out and reach out and be like,
I mean, it goes deep. I try to keep it pretty short. I try not to talk super fast. So there's a lot when it comes to plants and animals and soil.
Torin, do you have any, like, if we were going to reach out, we have some friends that I know that we're all thinking of people right off the bat after this call, be like, oh, I should really share this with this person. What would be kind of your first line, or what would be your first piece of your tool to share with them besides this recorded call?
I mean, really, really depends. If they're doing like crop stuff, There's a ton of resources within the agriculture Cogin chat that I can share. And then there's also I always think of the cannabis farms, and some people don't like that, but it very much is integrated like well into agriculture. It's the same freaking thing. So I always go for I don't know what her name is, but she has amazing, amazing videos and resources called the Coggin Queen, and she does it on YouTube. Amazing woman. And then always Eric and Bridget Brandstan, amazing informational stuff there. There is, if you want to take the deep dive, which is kind of strenuous, you can go on to some research websites like PubMed and look up agriculture and electrolyzed reduced water. There is some stuff on there. I definitely just take like a lot of this almost comes from intuitively understanding like how plant root systems work and how they're kind of just like our gut. But we do have a good amount of videos, educational videos. There's people that are sharing like time lapses or before and afters. There's a lot of those out there for us. It's really just gotta kind of experience it to believe it. So water shares are the best possible option. If somebody's interested in trying this with their plants, their animals, like just get them the water so they can see it for themselves. I mean, we can learn about it all we want. And like, that's how I feel about regenerative agriculture. It's like learn about it all I want. The juice is in the doing it. Yeah. So we got some good videos. I want to talk to you guys a little bit. I'll talk about water treatment. So I don't think a lot of people understand how agriculture gets water. So I'm gonna use California as an example. So they have like these rivers that they're man-made and built, and they funnel down the water from Tahoe and Mount Shasta all the way to places like near LA in the desert where they're growing food for some odd reason. And this water is stored in ground banks, like naturally occurring banks underground. And they have to treat this water before they can water it with their plants. So they treat this water, and then when watering, they apply their fertilizers and nitrogen and whatever, and that leaches back into the ground. And it's not like they're recycling this water. They're continuously stealing it from the mountains, funneling it down there. And there's towns down there that don't even have running water. And if they do have running water, they refuse to use it because of the way that it's treated and the way how much agriculture runoff is in it. They just get bottled service water, which is crazy to me. I watched a documentary on the California water wars. It was absolutely mind-blowing. And so if I imagine if I could treat on a large scale my ground bank water with 2.5 maybe, and then filter it and water my crops with that, how much more effective that would be in like people having clean water. And so again, I don't think people realize like how tied in the food that we eat, the soil that we have, what we put in it is with the type of water that comes out of your faucet. It's directly correlated. Yeah, California's second year in a row, 400,000 acre fire. So I had to get out of there. Yeah. We're all water wizards. We're out here, sharing the water. So, and like your food, the food that you eat, the food that you buy from the store is directly correlated to your impact on the environment and to the impact of your health. And personally, when it comes to animal products, don't compromise. In my personal opinion, just get the best. You deserve it. It was a pleasure having you guys be here with me. I hope that I got all my points across and I didn't talk too fast. Yeah, I think oh, there's another really good one you guys should watch. Kind of blew my mind because I was born in the 90s, right? So like High School Musical was my thing, right? Okay. So Zac Efron did a Netflix series called Down to Earth. And I'm so happy he did this because it reaches out to a whole broad network of people that don't normally think about this stuff, right? Like Zac Efron, okay? And he did a water one about the blue zones of the world and the hydrogen on the water. Yes. And he did a regenerative one, which was like, all right, in my personal opinion, you could have touched on it more. But there's so much inspiration, and I really feel like the huge shift happening for farmers that are like in the Midwest or wherever, and they're dealing with tornadoes and lightning storms and crazy hailstorms and things that they haven't dealt with before in the past, that they're like realizing, okay, there's a shift happening. And like I said, I don't try to be this doomsday person or think like, the world is going to implode on us. But we really do have an impact in what we buy from the store and what we grow and how we grow it. And so just try to be conscious and aware of that. That's all that I ask of anybody. Yeah. Anybody got any last questions? You guys want to see my zucchini? I'm growing with ionized water real quick. You want to see it? I'll take you to the zucchini. This thing is like bigger than my arm. Okay, let me flip this over real quick. Oh, it's bright out here. What's happening? Let's see. What just happened? Okay. Let's blur up. That's fucking. You guys see my zoo? Wait, let me take this blur off real quick. I'm sorry, guys. You gotta see this. This is what hydrogen water does to your plants. Okay, here we go. Oh. Oh. I'm just gonna pick it. Okay. I picked it. Thing is fucking huge. Yeah, I'm making stuffed zucchini tonight. Look at that thing. It's huge. My partner's like, let's let it grow more. I'm like, are you sure? Are you sure it's gonna grow more? This is like massive stuff right there. But yeah. All right. Evolution era. Everybody watching this. I'm gonna go make some zucchinis.
Thanks,
I'm
Jordan.
gonna weigh it up for you guys. Your hydrogen baby right here. All right. Have a wonderful day, guys. Happy Thursday. Go enjoy some outdoors. Go check out your soil. All right. Bye, everybody.